your best customer is also the best prospect of your competition.
Our speaker today has over 20 years of experience in entrepreneurship, in operation and directive roles such as commercialization, distribution, retail, operations, finance, consulting, and strategy. He is the VP of Directed Electronics, a vehicle technology company with over 25 years of successful operation in Mexico, co-founded Astus, which handles telematics and fleet management, and recently launched a new company division providing nanotechnology cleaning products. Nancy and I know Mateo Nakach as an amazing mentor from Class 4, and we are thrilled to have him share with the community today. Thank you so much, Mateo.
Well, it's a pleasure to talk with everybody. So we'll just do some kind of history, a little background on what we've done, how we've done it, and I'm glad to answer any kind of your questions. I would like to well, first of all, thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here. So basically, I'll talk a little more about the background. So I've been in the business since 1994. Basically, joined a family company, which even though it's a family company, I co-founded it. So we practically started everything from scratch, located in Mexico City. Mexico, as many of the countries that I hear now from Venezuela, from India, there's a lot of different challenges. Okay, so based on different challenges, well, everything starts with a business idea, right? And a business idea, but not only business idea, but many mistakes, doing a lot of things wrong, incorrectly, and thinking you're doing it right, and not focusing, not productive, trying to find your core, trying to find what you're doing. So we started with the business idea of improving vehicle security, vehicle safety, and comfort in Mexico. We did let's say the old style of business validation, which is trying to just push things, push and pull, and try to raise as much capital from our own from ourselves. So how did we do this? We partnered with somebody else, another co-founders, basically to get the funding. That was kind of like the only motivation why we co-founded. And we implemented in the 90s kiosk in shopping malls to be able to validate product that has a market fit inside new car dealerships. Until after 2 years, we practically started a full-time distribution, importing, wholesaling, distributing, and trying to find ways to really have a market, not only validation, because after 2 years we really started a business, but we started experimenting with things such as billboards, yellow pages, which is at that time that was kind of like the marketing that we had. We started in the 90s with, let's say, a sale of $20,000 for the first year. Then and next year we scaled to about $650,000 next year. And then we started growing very fast through a lot of market efforts. In 1994, we reached almost $3 million, and then everything. This is like a curve, okay? So you start slow, you start very fast, and then kind of like things slow down. There's a lot of challenges which we presented through the valuation, economic challenges. So business in 1995, let's say, fell totally heads down. We owed more money than what we had in 1995 with valuation. So we started again the company. So this scaling was not so much of scaling; it was surviving. From 1995 to 2005, we reached after about 9 years, we exceeded what we had created before. It was through a market of creating a network effect through distributors. That was basically how we did it. We had the financing that we had was basically none. It was sorry, forgot to mention, in 1994 the partnership that we had, which was mainly because of the funding. That's what we entered into that partnership. Since we lost the whole company, 1995 we finished that partnership. So we started with trying to gather our own capital, our own say our own ways of financing. We can talk about different ways of financing, but most of the financing that we had was through in-bond warehousing. That was kind of like our way to import, pay taxes once the product was going to arrive to the customers. And so we started until 2005, 2006 with the old-fashioned improving vehicle security comfort market through a network of distributors, dealerships. We entered now with big brands such as General Motors. We private labeled General Motors Mexico, private labeled some products. And then in 2007, we started a B2B business division. So kind of like that was like our scaling through a different market segment, which we already had. It was the first ones was basically focused on business to consumer. Then we started in the business to business division. And from 2006, 2007, we started a telematics B2B separate business division, which was now more focused on providing solutions, not such as only providing products. And from there on, we created a market push and pull, because we created a lot of pushing the products, but we now validated that there was a more of a distribution. The distribution effect now really got into place, where we provided a lot of different market segments. We provided not only the product and the solution, but we also validated and we provided a profit center for a lot of distributors. So after many years, we found out really who was our customer. We had no idea who our customer was. We were only selling and distributing, but we had not found a market focus. We had not found really our core. We were just really pushing and pulling products and customers and ideas, and try to adapt to the market, try to innovate with current trends, and until we now finally created a real division or real company afterwards. We started exporting. We started getting into insurance companies, dealerships, car makers. So we found it took us about 12 years really to find a business. Okay, so after that, we've been very careful with this with the business since in 1994, 2000, 2008, 2014, we had a lot of economic challenges, Mexico worldwide, and now 2019, 2020, which those lack of control, whatever efforts we try to do, those lacks of controls affected the growth of the company, and we kind of like started again, until finally we found we found our business model, we found our core, and we were able to really scale at after many years. So I don't know if that was kind of like a timeline, very that was kind of a timeline of the company. So I would like to focus on having a lot of different bad experiences until about it, a lot of failures, a lot of experimenting, and then I can now start focusing on what we did right and what was our hardest part. And our hardest part was really um, to create, to identify the core, to identify a team which we could share all the different strengths with, identify the market segments, because we had products which um, were easy to sell, easy to implement, but we had a lot of mistakes during the way. So it was until I can say honestly, it was it took about 15 years of having mistakes until we finally found the right team. We had the right partners. We validated the market. We defined the distribution. We dropped a lot of different products and bad opportunities which were distracting, uh, and it was an ongoing validation. So I can tell you more of the experience, of the bad experience, how to scale, than because of the things that we did right, because we did not do a lot of things right from the beginning. Finally, our market kept continuing. We had a balance of the business to consumer solutions and a balance of the uh, business to business solutions, which some years B2B were higher, some others B2C were higher. We had different ups and downs, and what we did is we balanced a company where we were able to share core values. We were able to share the infrastructure of the company, credit and collection, distribution, tech support, marketing, um, finance, and had just different sets of two different teams of sales and specialized post sales teams. So after we created these operation efficiency, we created this team. That's when we were able to stabilize stabilize um, the company. And these two different opportunities, really what they did is they balanced and they helped us grow the business. We were in a business in the business to consumer, which really had a limit on the effect, a limit until where we were able to reach. So we were able to identify different business units, identify also different market segments, in which once we dominated one market segment, we were able to grow and follow up on the different market segments. So in retrospect, if when we try to see what the framework of the discipline entrepreneurship, which we all went through this process, in retrospect, I can say that this market segmentations, if it's well planned in a systematic way, not in just occasional way, not as opportunities, but with a real planning and having a balance between operation efficiency, but also at the same time being able to have a strategy in which we can compare. Okay, this is the operation, but are we going in the right track? Are we going with a strategy? That's when the business starts scaling, not before. If you only focus and that was we were only focused on the operation side. We were not focusing really on the strategical side of the business. So after we learned this the hard way, in which we were able to plan what was the roadmap, what was going to be coming in the months, in the years ahead, and we try to match this operation with this strategy, and just keep revisiting, if we were doing it correctly, what were the deviations, if we had the right team in place, if we had the correct the correct customers, if we were able to outsource the key things which would give us more hands to be able to operate, not outsource the core. So because it's important to mention that you can outsource anything except the core. Once you outsource the core, you lose total control of who you are. When you outsource also the customers, you lose control. Since we're in a market where there's distribution, and the distribution or and the network effect, there's many hands in the network, from suppliers to us, to our dealers, to distributors, to end users. When there's so many hands, we learned the wrong way, where so many hands, you lose control of who the customer is, and you lose control of really serving the customer correctly, or at least supporting the customer, uh, and and having that control of your core, the customer, and your operation efficiency with a strategy behind it. That was when we really were able to really scale the organization. But again, it took us many failures, many experiments, and um, many years to really go back and start back again, from a new perspective. So it's a pivoting, but it's a pivoting because you're either doing it wrong, or pivoting because of the lack of ways really to confront the market changes. Okay, so the market is changing, and to have a company that's been almost 30 years in the market, it's very difficult. Either you pivot and you resist, or you're totally out of the market. So what we did is we tried to do some sort of a um, corporate innovation, where we kind of like created the company again, as if it was a new startup. So in a very agile way. So our culture inside of the company was, from the management side, it was always ready, and it was always prepared to innovate and adapt. From our team at the beginning, that's another mistake, that we did not really focus. We did not have a culture at the beginning of the company. So that culture is like having a kid which gets to teenage, and you never really supervised, you never knew where they were heading, and it was just a total rebel, and we had no control of really what everybody was doing. It was kind of like having everybody was running an independent business inside of their own company, because they took their own decisions, but not in a strategic and in a really focused way. Uh, so I can say that really the scale of the company and is about a lot of things. Okay, first of all, is about the impact that you can create, not so much of the sales that you can gather, because the scaling is not when you validate and you have sales. The scaling is really when you can replicate, and you can continue with the same process of selling, and you can replicate either to the same customers many times, or as well to be able to conserve customers. So in our B2 to B fleet division, where we provide solutions for fleets, and those solutions for fleets are for crash avoidance. So we help companies avoid crashes. We help companies also manage their fleets, and to have full control of the vehicle operation. And when we have customers that have been paying month by month on a SaaS kind of business model for 10 years, okay, after 10 years, you see, okay, there's really something that you're doing right. But when you start in the first months and you're able to really replicate and renew the sales, renew the contracts, and have even recommendations, that's the way to really where you can scale. When you can validate that you're doing through operation efficiency, through a good product and service. When you have competition, where there's a saying that which I like is your best customer is also the best prospect of your competition. So when you're working with a customer and that customer is surrounded by your competition, and you're able to work close to those customers and not lose those customers, that means that you're having your correct focus on doing things correctly through your team, through your product, and through your operation. When you scale, there's a lot of different challenges. One of them is cash. So what do you do with cash? You can either bootstrap. You can sell stocks. You can have you can have partners. You can decide not to grow on the different opportunities that which you had. And the challenge here is really to try to not lose yourself and not to be overwhelmed with trying to gather with anything that surrounds you. So it's important for you to really focus on what is it that you can do in a controlled manner. When it reaches a stage where you either sacrifice a lot of percentage of the company, is that really what you want? For me, and that's just personal, okay? I don't like to sacrifice the percentage and the partnership of the company, because it gets to a stage where you have zero control. You really, when you sold probably some small stocks, you're probably not selling small stocks. You're probably selling your whole company. The whole control of who you're serving, you're even sacrificing. And you're serving other stockholders. Are you serving only the stockholders of your customers, or you're serving different stockholders, where you make probably a bad decision because you're desperate trying to achieve and get some capital? And so we went through that stage again at the beginning of the company. I can tell that we started with probably the way that we decided to partner and gather capital, and it was a 50-50% partnership, or a 51-49% partnership, was only because we needed about $5,000. So we sacrificed 49% of the company because we needed $5,000. And then so that's kind of like a marriage which had to last many years, because now you're into it. You sold your that part of the stock, and how much value does that bring in? You have to be very, very careful to decide the financial part of how do you do it. So for me, I like more the network side of growing, the network of doing more with less. So you have many hands which you can work together with many hands, and this is why we also choose the distribution, a distribution business model. Not only because it was a core at the beginning. Now it's a core, but at the beginning it was really a way to grow without having to hire hundreds of employees. So if we can have hundreds of distributors, then we have hundreds of hands. So now we have about 1,000 distributors all around Mexico, which was part of that restriction in capital. And instead of having probably set up brick and mortar stores, or instead of having different ways or divisions or even people which we were not able to afford, we went through that path. It's an idea of how to grow.
That was amazing. I feel like I'm taking notes and reframing my questions, because you keep answering them too, which is excellent. but I mean, obviously you've been through some ups and downs. So going back to what you said about your operations strategy, how did you test that? I kind of got how you started to formulate it, but was there like a methodology you used to kind of measure the effectiveness of what you were doing as you were developing it?
Honestly, no, that was a mistake because we were, let's say, full hands in the operation, selling, servicing customers, buying, distributing, importing. We had at the beginning of the company we were only about, well, it started as every company, 2, 3, 4 hands. We reached up to 50 people, which is where we downsized from a few years now, so we were much more efficient. Uh, but no, it was only a hands-on operation, day to day, just serving and operating without looking back on a strategy. I can say now what we're adapting, and this is a ongoing process of being effective. We're now adopting a framework, more of the OKRs, objective and key results, where we have it was not specifically that same framework. Right now we're in during this COVID, uh, that specific framework, but because we now want to be able to trade and follow a day-to-day, a week-to-week process. So I don't know if that answers the question. And so no, we were just full hands operation, and then we started in mapping where we wanted to go and how we want to scale. After one market segment, we decided that, okay, we want to dominate the public transportation segment, and one of the accounts that we were able to land was Mexico City Public Transportation System, which are all of the buses that of the public transportation in Mexico City. And then say, okay, well, now that we have transportation, we wanted to scale into other follow-up markets, such as long distance transportation, so intercity transportation. And then we also mapped that we wanted, after that, we wanted to get into the distribution of goods and services, because what we did not have at the beginning is a one strategy to dominate one market segment. What we did is we had a product which, in every kind of market segment that we tried, if it was distribution, we sold, and if it was in public transportation, we sold. If it was in small fleets, service fleets, we sold. But we were kind of like picking those hanging fruits that we were able to gather, but we did not really did it in a strategic way, and that for us was a mistake, because we saw also we never focused on seeing the competition correctly, until and that was 10 years ago that we said, okay, no, we if we don't dominate one specific market segment, we will we're just like just trying to just shooting ducks and to see who falls. But we did not have a correct market segmentation, and until really, since not having a framework, it was just an operation, trial and error. Honestly, that was what we did. When I got to the boot camp in 2014, a lot of things fell in place. That's why even I fell in love with a framework, because you can do the same things but in a well planned manner. So from starting from market segmentation up to seeing the roadmap of your product, where you headed after you dominate one market, after you create one market segment, and then you follow up on your different market segments in a disciplined way. That's what I liked about, or loved about, the framework, to do this in an orderly manner.
Thank you so much for taking us through all that, Mateo. Since you were talking about the bootcamp framework, I was actually hoping to ask, you've mentored 6 boot camps, I believe, and I was hoping to ask how that has sort of changed the way you lead your company relative to just learning about the framework.
Okay, first of all, it was, and I think I was part of the experiment that MIT did, because we were about 54,000 people that took the online course, and then after that we said, okay, and they only shared 6 steps. We had no book. We did not know exactly what was the framework that we were seeing, and it just resonated with a lot of things that you do, which I did not do in a systematic way. Okay, so after I did the boot camp, I said, okay, well, first of all, the different mistakes that I've done in many years, this helps to avoid so many of those mistakes. So what I did after the boot camp is I said, okay, first of all, I cannot keep this for myself. I cannot just keep it and just try to implement it or use it as a framework. I have to share with this. So I started providing some courses here in Mexico with the same framework, with the help of MIT. So MIT really, what they did is they opened up. It was amazing how they worked, but they opened themselves up and they share the backstage planning and all of the different ins and outs of the framework, and also of the boot camp, even the how to select correctly the people. And we did this here in Mexico in the community. And then MIT said, okay, well, Mateo, we see that there's a lot of traction. And what they did is they formed, and this was amazing. They formed a teachers boot camp, where I was able to create a team here in Mexico with 2 other people. We took them to Boston, and they created it was about 25 people from different parts of the world, in which they taught to be able to teach discipline and entrepreneurship framework. So after I started doing this, that's when really things even have much more sense. Okay, when you do the boot camp, there's a lot of information. Okay, you really see that things resonate, but it's still a lot of information to digest. So for me, being able to follow up and being first of all to be able to certify as a teacher in the discipline entrepreneurship framework, that's when you even internalize it more for yourself, and you have more clarity on how to provide it. So every boot camp, what it does for me is that, first of all, it energizes me with regard of seeing how much passion, how much talent is there. So that energy for me is very important. And then I go back to my business. I go, well, let's refresh. So it's kind of like a reboot. For me, every time that I do I mentor a boot camp, it's a reboot inside of the organization. So I've been able to transmit it correctly inside of the organization, and I've been able to have the privilege to teach it, and also while mentoring, to be able to help many people doing it. Because when you do this or when you see that you have a very very strong framework, and you have, and people, and including me, everybody has different backgrounds, different strengths, also different weaknesses. You really find how this really makes sense of creating a correct team, of being even to how to balance those skills. Firstly, to identify the problem correctly, so you automatically, when you're in the business, and business wise, it's kind of like an automatic reflex saying, okay, well, you see opportunity everywhere. Okay, and you say, okay, I'm gonna, oh, I have a pen, so where can I sell pens? So I'm gonna import, I'm gonna sell, I'm gonna distribute, and you have a huge spreadsheet, which you're now a millionaire with. But you never found really a correct way to identify and a problem. So are you really just pushing something, or you having a little more of a market pull? So to be able to identify these uh, these different skill sets during the boot camp. You see also well, a lot of conflict, which is human. Human side is the most difficult, the most challenging, most difficult side that we have, to be able to work under so much pressure in so few days, and to be able to really, for me, not only in my business, but my satisfaction to be able to help and see how from day one you see somebody with certain strengths, and then after a week they're totally different, totally confident, and how you were able to shape them. Automatically, that shapes me. So it's not only taking it for my business, it's taking it for my personal uh, satisfaction in how you can see that you were able to help somebody grow. You see so much talent, and that talent is probably not focused on the business side, and not even focused um, on the execution side. So you have talent, which is okay. It's the raw material, which is there. So how do you then try to help shape that talent to be able to see how people keep growing, and even keep sharing. So it's all about sharing for me inside of the company and for my business. Definitely, I can share an example. This video, okay, Nancy shared on Discuss, which Erdin provided the interview. So we landed a contract about 1 year with AXA Insurance Company. So there was a bid to be able to provide. What they're doing is whenever they're gonna renew their the insurance of their of the business, where they have large fleets, so trucks and trailers specifically, they're going to implement a GPS device, so it's a telematics device really, and be able to help AXA and their customers, in case there's a theft, which Mexico is a lot of theft, be able to recover the vehicle. So now we now landed a contract. So this took about 1 year to be able to bid and to participate and be able to be part of AXA Insurance Company as a provider, as a partner. And then just a few months ago, when I shared with a few people inside of the insurance company, I shared the video. They said, Mateo, I'm not only I'm not only glad and I'm privileged to be able to say that we directed in your company as a partner, a correct partner, because we now see that there's much more behind what we can only see of a product and service and value proposition. We now see that there's a lot behind it. So honestly, for me, it was my first time that something from the boot camp was which I really used for my business, and it was just a share. So I shared with the people inside AXA Insurance Company, and they kind of gladly say, okay, we made a good choice selecting your company. So besides that, honestly, I have never used the boot camp except for the whole operation, but I've never used it as part of a leverage.
So, Matthew, actually, I had a particular question. Since your business caters to both B2B section and B2C section, right? So, as you scaled up, how did you go ahead and match your customer service to that operation that you're doing, right? Because when you're scaling up, there are a lot of customer base is actually increasing, and the number of problems that you need to troubleshoot increases.
Okay, it's a great question. What we did is, okay, the company's structure, which is distribution, warehouse, finance, accounting. There's a department in Mexico, credit and collection. Nobody pays. You have to go and get your money. So credit and collection, and that let's say those parts of the business were there. So we use them as a let's say we shared those parts of the business which were existing, and we grew with a specific manager, product manager. We grew with specific sales team and a specific post sales, pre and post sales service department. So what this helped is we did not have to grow the let's say it was kind of like starting a business or starting a company by its from scratch. But what we did is we just created these three areas of the business as product, product, sales, and service side, specifically for this solution, because it's you correctly mentioned, it's a totally different kind of customer. It's a totally different implementation, sales, even the product offering, a totally different business model. So we just leverage what we had existing. Say, okay, what is it that we have that we can use, and what it is it that we have to create. We also created we also used certain of the customers. So out of the, let's say, out of the 1,000 distributors which we had, we were able to find about 50 distributors which were a market fit, and what we saw is that none of our existing customers or distributors were also a market fit for the B2B. They were relationships that we had in the past, which they evolved into a B2B business, which being in only in the B2C, in the consumer side, we saw them as lost opportunities. We saw that we had no way to do business with them because there wasn't any business to do with them. So when we launched this product and we invited distributors, we found that we had some distributors which we knew in the past, they knew us, and we were able to at the beginning we were able to grow very fast because we had that relationship with distributors, which were also opportunities as how to grow. So that's that was something that we also brought into to the company, which was not planned. It was something that just happened. Well, it was planned that we invited them, but it's something that we didn't know that they were a market fit. Did it answer the question? So it is important to create a specific set of people and set of skill sets to be able to serve that specific differences. Which if you do it the other way, you're always going to do it wrong. You're going to depend. You're not going to grow. We had the opportunity to be able to outsource things, and we outsource things such as a call center for vehicle recovery. We did outsource that because we had no knowledge in a call center operation. So we did outsource that.
So you mentioned that during your business is one thing you have to note that you don't outsource the core, which I agree and understand. But in terms of, like you said, right now you outsource the cost center, etc. So what were the parameters you used to understand that, okay, these are the things I am fine outsourcing and these are the things I should not outsource?
Yes. Okay. So one of it is the call center is for vehicle recovery. So in case the vehicle is stolen, it's the operation in which we work together with the police to be able to recover the business. So what we did is we outsourced the service, but we brought it inside of the company. So that's part of the core. Okay. So what we did is that we hired a company which was the core is the call center. That's what they did correctly. We needed to be able to provide a vehicle recovery service, which we did not have, and we did not feel comfortable having the capacity to be able to create this from scratch. So we hired an external call center company, and we, at the beginning, what we did is we put them inside our company. Okay, so we set up a space in the company, and we paid them to operate this operation. Okay, and that was part of those are let's say the biggest things that we struggle in finding how to do it. We also partnered with an association which works along with the police in Mexico. Um, so we had to create those partnerships to be able to set and be able to provide the whole service. Okay, because if we decided to, I don't know, just say outsource and send it to somebody else because they already had everything in place, we were not able to control the quality of the service. And it's important for us to control the quality of the service. Also, sales wise, when we have distributors, we lose, let's say, that final relationship with the customers or the end user, let's say. So when we lose that last part of the relationship with the customer, then we lose also that the real benefit of all is it everything that we try to transmit, because we have middlemen or we have middle people, we're just probably taking advantage and saying, okay, I have X amount of contacts, I have X amount of companies that I work with, but probably they're not as professional in the service in which they do. So we tried to also identify, and those were mistakes that we did at the beginning. Why we identified those opportunities, and what we probably took badly advantage of those opportunities because we sold through them, but we were not able to service through them. And some of them were very jealous in letting us work together with them through and providing a better service to the end user or to the end fleet. So that was a mistake that we did, and it took us a while to identify it, and we had to close many of those accounts in which we said, okay, if we this is the distribution guideline that we need to keep, and if you do not provide this three-way contract with the customer, in which, okay, you're serving the customer and you're charging them as a value-added reseller, we are providing the service and we have the end user and fleet. But if you do not allow us to be in a part of the picture, then we can no longer do business. And we had to shut down many of those distributors, and we had to lose those end fleets because they did not align to what we did, but we did not have that as the beginning. It took us a few mistakes to be able to identify that those also, that's also part of the core. Part of the core is being in contact with and being able to service the end fleet correctly.
Yeah, that actually gave more than the answer. Actually, in that particular context, I had another question, right? So when you start up from scratch, you are short on cash and everything. So which part or which time in your business do you feel, okay, this is the right time to hire a proper legal, like in terms of legalities, because you will be having a lot of compliances to the compliances that you need to go through. So in which part of the growth curve did you decide, okay, this is the time I have to hire a lawyer and get things done properly in terms of legal system and placing those legal stuff in your company?
Okay. Yes. I can recommend that's from day one. Okay. From day one, you have to have this in place. Because there's a lot of different agreements and regulations that you have to comply. So that's from day one. So we have a full-time legal service, a legal company which provides the service we pay monthly, even though we don't use it. We do pay monthly because it has to be there, not for the legal and lawsuit issues, but for the operations side of contracts, and even some a lot of regulations with the government. What I can say that the hardest thing, and now that we through the COVID, we launched a new division of the company, which is now providing cleaning and sanitization products, nanotechnology products, which now we formed during the COVID. So during COVID we had to keep renew. We did not know exactly what was going to happen after COVID, so we said, okay, we cannot just fall asleep and say after 2, 3, 4 months and saying, okay, this will be the new reality, which nobody knows how to define what the new reality is. We have to create a new we create a new division of the company. We brought in, let's say, or we acquired a technology, and now we professionalized and we created as now a strategy, market segment. And I can say that for the legal standpoint, the hardest thing is to understand, and I think this will highlight more of the question that you had, because from day one you have to have it. But what we struggled is to identify the correct market segment and identify the correct regulations you need to comply. That is the hardest part, because from the legal standpoint, you can spend a lot of money trying to certify the product in many different requirements, or from many different angles. But the thing is, you have to identify what are the real requirements that the market segment needs, and then you have to decide, okay, those are the ones that you have to comply. And from those that you have to comply, what is the cash that you have? You don't have a lot of cash to do it. So out of the 10 different regulations or certificates, which are really a nice to have, which ones are a must have? So you have to choose the ones that are must have, as part of, okay, I need to do this, and which are the nice to have, but not because it's a nice to have for you. It's a nice to have because the customer you're building this from the customer perspective. Is it nice to have from the customer perspective, or and that will bring you more customers, or is it just a nice to have, and you have a nice certificate, a nice symbol, a nice name behind it, and you only spend a lot of money and you did not need it? So the hardest thing is, and I think the hardest thing business wise, is to filter out all of that noise, all of that information, which it's really hard for you to take a correct decision if you try to listen to everybody or listen to everything. So not all customers are an opportunity, not all certificates are needed, not all products are something that you need to approach. Not every candidate is the correct one. So you really need to filter it out, and those are the hardest decisions that you have to make day by day. Filter out all of that noise. With all these changes, it makes it even more complicated to really take decisions, because you can be, and it happened to me many times. So you're in a analysis paralysis. You have so much information that you don't have no idea what to execute. So from the legal standpoint, what do you execute? You cannot go for all of them because it's just wasted money, or you don't have the money to do it, because when you see the return on the investment, it's not worth it. You're going to invest a lot more money, and the other offside of this is, how much are you risking? Because since you cannot approach and you cannot decide to do everything, you're risking and you're leaving a lot of loopholes, which I'm sure they're gonna bite, and they're gonna and those are mistakes. But since you had certain amount of resources, you have to take those risks. So you probably know that if you're gonna for example, with this nanotechnology, we did our first export last week. Last month to Russia. Okay, and we had internal discussion. So what do we do? Do we patent the product? Do we register the trademark in Russia? Is this probably going to be a one-time purchase, or is it going to be an ongoing purchase? But if we register and we invest a lot of money, how much will that take us? And to be able to protect the product for Russia, because we were not ready to export it. This opportunity came to us, so we go with it and we try to protect and spend many $1,000s, even for an idea that we don't know if it's going to grow or not, or we take the risk. And we said we're going to take the risk. So we did not register the product. It might be they might copy it. They might it might scale or it might not scale, but we took the decision not to invest money there, which is not now our focus. So we decided to take the risk, and I'm sure that there's a lot of risk that you have to take. The risk to not take is a risk. That to not decide is a decision that you have to do.
Thanks, Mateo. And I'd like to go ahead and ask you a question from Carlos. He was wondering how your experience has been applying the MIT Disciplined Entrepreneurship Framework in Mexico more specifically. Have you had to adapt it to your context?
Okay, specifically for my company, I can tell you that, and I have to confess, okay, I've never been able to have the 24 steps mapped out. Okay, this is something that I've never had. So my how am I adopting it? Really is the operation wise. How to adapt the operation to more of the. I don't know if you guys seen in the discipline entrepreneurship. There's a workbook as well. So if all you have access to the workbook at the beginning, there's a canvas. So the whole steps for me was impossible. I've never had the time to be able to have those 24 steps for my company. I was able to create a lot of these probably selected steps, which I was able to bring in, but never really implement all the 24 steps. And what I've seen as well during in the courses that I've taught, and Belalet, they had MIT has a great relationship with a local university in Mexico called ITAM. They call it the Harvard of Mexico, and the university was not able to implement discipline entrepreneurship teaching during or within the university. So Belalet, once we formed this team and we were trained to be able to provide this teaching, they requested us to train the university to be able to provide this framework and the whole course. And what I've seen is in Mexico, people don't like to read, and this is something that I think Latin America, Carlos has this probably same things. People don't like to read. They like to jump steps. They want to do something which is fast. So there has to be an adaptation to be able to do an agile 24 steps. And I can say that agile 24 steps is more of the canvas, which is in the workbook, more than the full steps that are on the book. That's kind of like the adaptation that we've seen that works, at least for Mexico. I don't know if different parts of the world is the same thing, because it would be amazing and it's incredible for somebody and the company to go through the whole very rigorous 24 steps. But honestly, I have never seen that anybody really has that kinds of discipline and patience to be able to implement it.
Thank you so much for your answer. And because the issue I have been noticing is that framework is made by like for modern or developed countries, and some things must change to be applied in our countries such as Venezuela and Mexico. But yeah, thank you so much for your answer.
What I think, Carlos, which is not much for the countries. Okay, I think it's not for um, it's not only the country, the culture, but it's also the size or the opportunities of the company that will come out of that. Will that be a if that's gonna be a unicorn company, then it needs there's no way that you can jump any of those steps. If it's for a small mid-size company, then it's impossible for them to be able to go through all the whole steps because they're not there yet. They're not gonna have that market traction. So it's not gonna be it's let's say the people don't have the skills and the market will not need it, but at least to do um, a light runabout through the steps, I think it is important. So that's why I mentioned the canvas. So if you have the canvas, at least in one page, you have the whole strategy in a one pager, as much as you can do it, right?
Hey, Mateo, Wasim here. So I have a quick question for you. So normally when we talk about scaling, we normally say that once you achieved that product market fit of sorts, then you aim for the scalable product market fit and then aim for a profitable scalable market. In your case, you had mentioned that you had moved from that low number in the first year to quite a very high sales number, and then subsequently a even higher number. And then you said you had to give away equity for a very small amount, right? So $5,000. So assuming that you have achieved a scalable market fit, shouldn't you have been able to get a much higher valuation, assuming that you were on the path to achieve a profitable scalable market fit? Or what made you had to give up that company, especially when you're on the right path in scaling, where you achieved the product market fit and the scalable product market fit, where you had to give up the company, a large part of the company, for a very small amount? Was it that you were unable to achieve that profitable scalable market fit?
No, this was even before Wasim, because at the beginning we had a validation, but we did not have a business. So that validation needed even more hands to work. So it was kind of like a way to acquire some co-founders or to acquire people working inside of the company. That's why there was this sacrifice, and honestly, I think that was a mistake. Okay, because the skills that these, let's say, these partners which we had, they were inside new car dealerships. They knew that channel, so they dominated how to get inside these market segments. So it was probably that $5,000 that was needed to start the business, and the expectation that they were the right ones to be able to be part of the co-founding and strategy. Um, in retrospect, I can say that was a total mistake, because definitely there were many other ways to be able to acquire that amount of money, and what was done with that amount of money. I can tell you a story that we had. So we had opportunity to place billboards. So the billboards inside of the freeways, inside of important streets. There were that was kind of like the thing that we saw that was the way to acquire awareness. Okay, and we had zero budget to be able to hire a billboard. So we approached the company and said, okay, how much are each billboard cost? And they said, okay, about $1,000. Okay, and what's the longest term of credit that you can provide for to be able to acquire those billboards? Say, okay, 90 days, perfect. So we probably we jumped into that, or we precipitated ourselves into the hiring those billboards, and we hired 10 billboards without money. The only thing that we had was that $5,000 for products that which we validated that there was a market fit, but we risked much more than we had. It was probably the whole capital, and those billboards. So we hired the first the billboards. Then we grew with more billboards, and so phones were just kept ringing. If we did not have that, those $5,000 from those partners, and that it was only $10,000 cash that we had for the whole operation, we were not even to be able to risk even deciding to take that risk in hiring those billboards. Okay, but definitely those are mistakes that we see, and for us now in retrospect, now we see after the boot camp. Okay, when we were in the first, Wasim and is also from my first boot camp that we had. And if you remember, Wasim, my team we won the first place in the pitch competition. Okay, when we approached those investors, and the team said, okay, let's gonna ask for $1 million. That was like the ask for the team, and I said, why? We have a business which we don't need to sacrifice anything. Why start with the sacrificing of capital? Why sacrifice your share of the company with somebody that you don't know if they're the right ones? So at the beginning you don't need that money. At the beginning you need to validate what you have, and then to scale you have to find that, and that's, at least for me, how much can you bootstrap for yourself after these mistakes. Okay, Wasim, how much can you bootstrap from yourself? And even though if you grow at a smaller scale, with less employees at the beginning, or less customers, but at the end you have 100% of the company, unless really you really do an analysis and you really know what you want, and it's the only way to do it, and you find the right investors. If it's only just to be able to get money, that money at the end will bite you, because you have that money, but you also have that big percentage which you sacrificed with people or stakeholders or venture capitals or sharks, which they will not participate in the business. They will not bring value. So you have to, in retrospect, I can say it. So you have to see really who is really the ones that you're going to bring value to your customers. Those are the ones that you have to take in. If not, you're not in for the money. You don't need the money. You can find other ways to grow the business, even at a lower scale, with your same customers, and you have 100% of lower sales than 50% or 20% or whatever percentage with bigger sales, which are less profits. They're not money that you're gonna have in the operation, and you're reporting to new. You really sold your company. You're reporting to new shareholders, which now it's a focus that you're gonna lose. So it's like paying taxes. At the beginning, we had a finance department, which everything that they did, our own accounting and finance department, was be able to prepare the tax declaration to be able to comply with the government. Until it hit us, say, okay, no, time goes very fast, and you're complying with the government, and you're working for somebody else. Until we said, okay, we have to change our approach. Now, what we do is, okay, we work the information for us, and then the consequence of good information for us will be to have the tax declaration for the government. So you have to change your approach, who you're working for or who you're working with. Is it to comply? Is it for the new partners that you brought in, or is it for you, for your operation? What is that you really need?
Thank you for all of your amazing explanations.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I hope I was able to highlight these from mistakes. Okay, that's how we learn. Unfortunately, the hard way. So from mistakes, we're able to learn something, and then those mistakes we can share with somebody else, and not make those mistakes. And those are the things that shape us and the way that we decide.
Very well said. Yeah. Valuable lessons to take forward, right? Thank you so much for your time today, Mateo. Thank you everyone for joining today. Have a wonderful day or evening.
Thank you so much, Mateo.
Everybody take care.
Take care. Have a great day.
This has been Nancy and Spencer on Founders Voyage Weekly Podcast. Our speaker each week can be reached through our Discord server. Our intro and outro music is from the song Something for Nothing by Reverend Peyton's Big Damn Band. We'll be back again next week for another episode. Until then, have a great day and continue your voyage.